West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I'm one half the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Machel St. Patrick Hewitt, and you got me in the special place with the special headphones on, recording a special episode. Listen, we haven't dropped anything on the channel in about 4 days. You know, it's been Easter time. We got to send the blessings up and hope the blessings come down. You know, religious time for Christians and that. Santoki ain't even religious like that, but you know, we still had to send the blessings up all the same and take a bit of a break over the Easter period. But we're back. We're back on, what day does it say? Tuesday, the 22nd of April. And it means by not putting out anything out in a few days, it means that we've had some time to kind of reflect on the West Indies women not making it to the World Cup, and not just kind of delve into the let's do a video and let's get the hot take out there and let's just say immediately what's on our mind. Sometimes you just have to let things marinate, you know? You have to let things marinate, you have to take stock, and you have to say to yourself, well, what have we learned? So I've written down some notes, going to kind of just fire through them all. As usual, though, people, you can see the ticker tape below. If you can, please support the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. You can do so by going to www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket. Every little bit helps and counts to really keep the podcast on the road. I've been speaking to a couple of people to help with upgrading some of the stuff that we do, but that will cost money. So literally, that's what, whenever we ask for any support, it goes towards that. You know, we don't have a sponsor, so we always have to say that in a video. But let's get to the West Indies women. So this past weekend, what day was it? Was it a Saturday? Was it? I can't even remember what day. Was it Saturday? Must have been Saturday. Let me just remind myself, people. Yeah, Saturday. So this past weekend, West Indies women, the two snookers went in their favour. Ireland beat Scotland on the Friday, and then Pakistan beat Bangladesh with 10 overs to spare on the Saturday morning, which gave the West Indies women an equation of needing to hit, I think it was something like either 162, was it? Something like that in 10, or 166 in 10 overs, or 172 at the start of the 12th over. I think that's how the equation went. And first things first, let's talk about the positives, because it's easy to look at the fact that the West Indies women are out in the World Cup and go, oh my God, disaster, and let's look at this, and recriminations there, and down bad here. Let's first and foremost focus on what they did against Bangladesh. That equation of hitting 172 at the end of the 10th over or 11th over, or whatever that particular equation was, the West Indies managed to get that chase to a point where they got to the final two balls, knowing that if they hit a 4 and then a 6, they would win the match. Now, let's just remind ourselves, 172 runs in 11 completed overs, right? That's what they needed to do, and they came within 2 balls, some say 1 ball, of doing that. Now, there's been some criticism online saying, why did Stefani hit a 6? I don't think Stefani was trying to hit a 6. You can clearly see on the video, on the kind of clips have gone round after the game, where Hayley's at the boundary rope shouting, we need a 4 and we need a 6. Maybe Stefani did get a bit confused, but the point was the team knew they needed a 4 and a 6. I think there was a bit of revisionism where people were trying to claim that the team didn't know what they were doing and nobody had passed any instructions on. I think Stefani overhit it. Maybe she misunderstood. We can debate that if we want. But the point is, any critique that I've got of the West Indies women's team in this World Cup doesn't come down to what happened in the final 2 balls of their chase against Thailand. The recriminations and criticism has to start, and for me, potentially stop, at that Scotland game. That's where this World Cup qualification was lost. Nothing to do with Thailand. Even if they had managed to chase down that 172 against Thailand, let's say Stefani hits that 4 and then hits a 6 instead of a 6, and then realizing she can't, and realizing that they can't win the game now. Let's say Stefani had done that. I'm very much of the view that whilst it would have been brilliant and I would have pumped up my chest and I would have sent out big, huge congratulations to the side and so on and so forth, there was an element of me which was like, yeah, but this will paper over the cracks. Like, if a World Cup qualification comes down to having to do some kind of world record chase in the women's game against Thailand just to get to the World Cup, something has gone wrong. We should never be putting ourselves in any situation in the course of a World Cup qualifier where we need to laying down Thailand with world records to make it to a World Cup. So we have to start our recriminations elsewhere. And like I say, I think it starts and stops with Scotland. Yes, the performance against Pakistan was also down bad, but if there was any team going into this tournament where I was like, they could beat us, for me, it was always Pakistan. I expected us to beat Scotland. Well, I say expected. I thought we would beat Scotland, beat Ireland, beat Thailand, and probably if push came to shove, we'd beat Bangladesh. But there was always a question mark in my head which said Pakistan could beat us, you know. So I'm not really the nature of the Pakistan defeat. Yeah, I've got issues about it, not with the ball, more so with how they performed with the bat. But my issue really starts and stops with the Scotland game. We had Hayley, remember, in that Scotland game, our first game of the tournament. Slow starters yet again. We started slowly in the World Cup, T20 World Cup last year as well, when South Africa legged us down by 10 wickets. My issue with the Scotland game was that in chasing the 220, whatever it was, I think it was 228, 29, whatever it was, that we needed to win, Hayley scored 114 not out. Hayley took 4 wickets, I think, in that match. And it was just that match for me was just the epitome of where I guess on the at face value some of the concerns kind of emanate with the women's side. We shouldn't still be in a position where we're looking at a game going, it's Hayley Matthews and inshallah. Like we shouldn't be looking at games like that. And Hayley put in a generational performance, century and 4 wickets, and we still couldn't see the game over the line respectfully against Scotland. And that was the match where I had my crash out and I recorded the reaction video afterwards saying this is unacceptable, and it is. Sorry, it was, and it still is, because all we needed was for one other player to put their hand up. And I think I said it at the time, post match against Scotland, that it was a dereliction of duty from one player after another, one player after another, one player after another. No one willing to take ownership over the chase, leaving it to Hayley to have to roll off the stretcher and try come back out again and win the match, even though she shouldn't even be on the pitch at that stage due to injury. And I think that for me, when I look back at the World Cup qualification campaign, that will be the enduring moment for me. Yes, fantastic. What great fortitude by Hayley Matthews. What great leadership to say to the troops, I'm going to try and get this over the line, even in my down bad state. But it should never have had to come to that. When I look at the tournament, and I'm just getting up my stats right now, I think the next question I ask myself is sorry, people, I should have had this ready. I meant to get this up before I started the recording. Hopefully now, when I'm trying to find this on the fly right now, here we go. So when I was making my notes prior to recording this episode, I was saying to myself, right, but who really and truly who performed for the West Indies? Because I think that's the next question we have to ask ourselves. Who can leave this tournament with their heads held high? So I'm just bringing up the West Indies team here. Here we go. So I'm just going to show you some numbers, people. I'm just going to give you all the numbers because maybe not, or maybe some of you haven't seen the numbers from the tournament. Hayley Matthews, this is with the bat first. With the bat, Hayley Matthews average 60 with 105 innings, obviously, with 100 and 150. Chanel Henry averaged 57 with 150 in there. Chanel's strike rate 150, Hayley's strike rate 117. Stefani Taylor averaged 29. Zayda James averaged 24. Alira Lane averaged 21 with 2 not outs. Chanel Henry had 2 not outs as well. Janilla Glasgow played 1 match, average 18. Kiana Joseph averaged 15. Shemaine Campbell averaged 12. Gajnabi, who batted 4 times, averaged 11. And that's the batters, right? What does that tell you? So take the top 3, Hayley, Chanel, and let's throw in Stefani Taylor because she averaged 29, right? No one else really contributed. And we can we can sit here and we can debate and we can say that, oh yeah, but 3 West Indian batters performing across a tournament should be enough for West Indies to get through the World Cup. And I'm saying no, we aren't good enough to be going into a tournament where only Hayley really performs properly with the bat. Chanel, she did bits and pieces in 2 games for sure, performs with the bat. Stefani, I mean, obviously we know that Stefani carries injuries these days, but she averages 29, and there's just nothing else to talk about. So it doesn't take much soul searching to find out why we couldn't chase the 200 and odd against Scotland, and why we couldn't chase 191 against Pakistan. Like, it's quite obvious to work out how we got ourselves into problems, right? With the ball, we were a lot better. Okay, not, I wouldn't say too penetrative, but Hayley Matthews again led the way. 13 wickets at 16 apiece, economy 4.4. Alira Lane, who got better as the tournament went on, 12 wickets at 14 apiece, economy 5.4. So Aliyah and Hayley for sure can hold their heads high. Afi Fletcher, 9 wickets at 22, economy 4.1. Ramarak, 6 wickets at 29, economy 4.2. I think she'll be disappointed with that return. Munasar, 3 wickets at 26, but her economy was brilliant, 3.5. Remember, Munasar's only 20 years old. I think she should come out this tournament with a lot of credit, and I'll get back to her. I'll come back to her in a minute. But 3 wickets at 26 with an economy of 3.5 for Ashmini Munasar. And then Chanel Henry, 1 wicket at 88, economy 4.4. We weren't my issue with the ball is that obviously Hayley led the way. Alira Lane by the end of the tournament showed her worth with like um good passages of bowling in the middle and then coming back at the death. Yes, there was that over against, I think it was it Bangladesh, where I think maybe she went for 17 at the end or whatever it was, but Alira Lane came into her role in the back end, the last kind of 3 games of the tournament. So like I say, she comes out with credit. My issue with the bowling, and it kind of goes into my next point here, is there were times in this tournament where I thought, have we decided before the game what the plan is? And I just wonder if at times there was enough thinking outside of the set plan. And that's not a criticism of Hayley's captaincy. I think it's more so a wider critique of the approach going into the tournament, because there were just times where it's like, okay, right, whether it was Cherry Ann Fraser, who took the new ball, she played in the first 2 matches. So whether it was Cherry Ann Fraser getting the like first 2 or 3 overs at the top, even Chanel Henry kind of got the first 5 overs at the top, it all felt a bit, you're going to bowl these overs, then this person's going to bowl these overs, then this person's going to bowl these overs, and it all felt a bit regimented. And I kind of felt across the 5 matches that the only time we went off script with the bowling was when Hayley was like, this game's getting away from us, I'll bring myself into the attack. That was the only, for me. And again, I remember, I could be wrong, people, so I'm more than happy for people to get into the comments and say, Mash, I didn't read it that way. But I just kind of felt in the tournament that Hayley was Hayley's way of changing the plan was to go to herself and say, right, let me try bring the game back now. I'm going to bowl like 3 overs on the spin and just tighten things down and kind of slow the game down and slow down the rate of scoring. Okay, we need a wicket. I'm going to bring myself on now. I'm going to break this partnership. And more often than not, Hayley did. But is it me, people? Please get in the comments below and let me know. I just felt like our plans were too rigid. I also felt that, and I felt this particularly, which game was it? Um, I think it might have even been the the Thailand game. There was a point in the Thailand game where Thailand had scored. We allowed Thailand to get to 160 odd, didn't we? And really and truly, if we did want to chase what Thailand did, we needed to kind of restrict. We needed to restrict them to like 120 and less. And Munasar came on really late against Thailand. And I remember thinking when she came on, hold on a minute, Munasar's just bowled brilliantly or really well in 2 matches in a row, so Ireland and Bangladesh. Show real good economy. I'm not talking about wicket taking. I'm talking about slowing down the run rate and forcing errors off the other and forcing wickets based for the other bowlers. Almost like doing assists for other bowlers by slowing down the scoring rate, right? And I was like, why have we brought Manasar in so late against Thailand? And it was just things like that where it was like, are we not thinking on the fly here? Was that a rigid plan that Manasar only comes on now because she's 20? And I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I could be talking a bag of fart. That was just a criticism that I was thinking in my mind as things went on. Um, in terms of the construction of the team in general, I do look at the team now and I wonder if head coach Shane is going to look at things and say, do we have too many all rounders in our team? And by all rounders, I guess that might sound like a silly statement, but by all rounders, I guess no, that might be the wrong thing to say. Do we have too many bits and pieces players in our team? And that sounds a bit disrespectful, which is why I didn't want to use that as my go-to phrase initially. I just look at some of our players and I'm like, what role are you fulfilling? What is your specified role in this team? Like if you're in the team as a bowler and you're not bowling your allocation, for example, I'm just giving this as a phrase as an example. If someone's in the team and they're listed down as a bowler and they're not bowling their allocation, what's their role in the team? If someone's in the team as a batter and they're barely able to get past 10 runs, what's their role in the team? And there was just a few occasions across this tournament where I was like, is our team made up of a few bits and pieces players where we're hoping they come good, but we don't really trust them enough to even do their skill set, whatever that skill set is, to its absolute maximum, or when we're looking at their output at the end of the match, it's hard to understand what they brought to proceedings. And I don't know. Like I say, we shouldn't. We should be critical, but the critique um, should also be in context, right? Like West Indies are lacking a fast bowler. To me, that's obvious that there is a clear lack of a strike bowler who can take the new ball. And look at like Pakistan, they had like Fatima Sana who was swinging the ball from like over one. And I was looking at her going, rah, West Indies could do with someone like that. Chanel Henry might well look at that and go, Mash, you're disrespecting. What about me? But Chanel Henry for me is like she's like a first change bowler. We don't actually have a front line bowler in my mind, right? Fast bowler. Some people say, but Mash, what about Janilla Glasgow? Should she be used in that role? I don't know. I mean, she's a bit of a, is she a batter? Is she a bowler? Is she an all round? Is she bits and pieces? Like, there's so many questions about certain things, and that's not me sticking it on the head coach. That's not my point at all. I'm actually looking at it as a resource issue. It sometimes feels for me with the West Indies team where it's like we're picking our best 15 players in the region, or the 15 that we believe to be the best 15, and then just trying to work out an 11 from it. And but that 11 might not necessarily be the best 11 for the set roles that are needed, but we're not blessed with enough talent to almost have set roles. Do you get what I mean? But that's a roundabout way of saying that. But do you get what I mean? It's almost like basically, I guess what I'm saying is I don't think our talent pool is that big. I genuinely don't think we've got a big enough talent pool to then put together an 11 person team and go, right, you have this role, you have this role, this is your role. Because actually, the roles that we need, we don't have the players for those roles. So we just have to mishmash as best as we possibly can. But here's the key thing, and let's try and bring this video to an end because I've tried to follow a structure on this one, but there's so many questions coming out of this World Cup that it's hard to do this video because I've got no answers really and truly. But let's look at a way forward. This is what I've written down as a way forward, right? First, let's start with looking back to go forwards. In some ways, what happened in this tournament is no surprise whatsoever. If anybody had paid even the slightest bit of attention to the women's Super 50 that took place prior to the training camp, prior to going to Pakistan, a cursory, and we did a video on it. Go back in the archives. I did a video on the women's Super 50 after the tournament finished. And if you go back and watch that video, a lot of what went on in this World Cup was foreshadowed in terms of will we be able to score enough runs to get past certain teams, because the Super 50 showed us that there weren't many major run scorers. Obviously, Hayley was at women's IPL, Chanel Henry was at women's IPL, and Deandra was there, but obviously she got injured, right? And obviously Deandra was a huge loss to this team. But the domestic players who played Super 50, they weren't doing anything too tough. And if you're not doing anything too tough at the domestic level, why would you suddenly come to alien conditions in Pakistan and mash everybody up? So there were some warning signs in the Super 50, and I think head coach Shane acknowledged that. Shane Dietz acknowledged that and said, "Boy, kind of want people to be scoring more runs in Super 50. They're not really scoring big runs out here." So there was issues there. Osprey, who's in the Discord group, Caribbean Cricket Podcast Discord group, he said to me from early in the tournament, the issue here is that West Indies players are only suited to the shortest format of the game, and actually when their skill set is being tested in the longest format, they're not able to play a different kind of game. So they're trying to, and it suited us against Thailand because Thailand was effectively a 2020 game, right? Well, an 11-11 game, but you get what I mean, right? Um, but in some of the early games, too many batters were going for what I'd argue, and I think Osprey's right to say, a 2020 approach. There was, I think, in the Scotland game, was it Scotland where Chanel hit a six, then out? And the match situation didn't call for that in the slightest. She could have just nudged, she could have hit that 6 and 6, defend, see out the over, and just nudged and nurdled her way to a good score because the runs were there to be made. But she went for a 2020 innings when it didn't even need that. So I make Osprey right on that front. Not going to the World Cup though, to me, and hear me out, could almost be seen as a blessing in disguise though, because there are so many structural problems in women's cricket, and I'm not talking about from Cricket West Indies top down. I'm talking from bottom up. In some senses, you could say that it's not a structural problem; it's a non-existence problem. Again, I've tweeted about it so many times and spoken about it so many times. Go to every territory in the region, and what can you tell me about the state of the women's game in that territory? Guyana, Barbados. I know about Barbados to be true, to be fair. Guyana, Barbados, Trinidad, Jamaica, the Leewards, the Windwards. Of those 6 territories, who's got a, what do I want to say here? Who's got a women's program that is fit for purpose? Who's got a women's program where you can see clear developmental structures at age group levels, which means that when West Indies are compiling an under 19 team, they can find clear talent all across the region. To me, the answer is it's non-existent. Some islands have got bits and pieces of something, but there's no clear unified structure across the region. There's barely any structure in the actual nations. So how can there be anything across the regions? So as Basil Butcher Jr. always says to me, if it's shit at the grassroots level, it surely will be shit at the top level. We shouldn't be looking at this as a top down approach. The best that Shane Dietz and his backroom staff can do is, well, there's a bit more they can do because obviously they can hold these camps and they can try and hone the kind of skill set of the top 20 players prior to series and this, that, and the third. And remember, 15 of them have got West Indies contract. Shemaine Campbell's got multi-year. Hayley's got multi-year. So yes, they're professionals now, like 15 to 16 of them, etc. But there's got to be more of what Shane's already tried to do. Get some players out to Australia to play some club cricket. Cherry Ann went out there. Janilla Glasgow went out there. I think Kate Wilmot went out there. Was it Claxton? There's one other player I'm thinking of who went out there as well. We might have to do more of that. Shane might have to convince Cricket West Indies, boy, we need to go on some more tours. Like, I can't develop these girls within the Caribbean only. Like, there's a ceiling to the level of development that they can reach unless we are out and about all around the world, consistently exposing them to cricket. We just lost to Scotland. Let's ask Scotland. Scotland, I think there was an article I just read in the BBC where Scotland was saying, or ESPN, was the Scottish women's team was saying, we ain't even got no more cricket for the rest of the year. Well, Cricket West Indies, come, we just lost to them. Let's organise a 3-match list 50 over series against Scotland in Scottish conditions. Let's go play the women over there. And people say, but Mash, that costs money. But we ain't gonna improve if we just stand still. That's obvious. So we're gonna have to do more than we're currently doing. So yeah, there's questions around that. Not getting to the World Cup also makes me start to think about transition, and I'm looking at some of the older players now in the squad. Afi's still a top bowler for this side, but how long should we be expecting Afi Fletcher to play for the West Indies? At what point now do you start to look ahead to the next set of World Cups or the T20s? Obviously, we're not this old yet World Cup. So let's say 2029, the next Women's World Cup, right? Assuming we can get there, assuming it's an expanded tournament. They now need to plan for 4 years ahead. What does 4 years ahead look like for the West Indies women's team? Certain of the players in this squad right now are going to be 38, 39. Are we still expecting them to be the core of this side, which to me would be a shocking indictment that we haven't identified a batch of youngsters who can come through? So we need to now start thinking about transition planning. That doesn't mean throw away the experience, but it does mean now players like Janila Glasgow, they need to play more matches. If you genuinely believe they're talented, they need to play more matches. If you genuinely believe Ashmini Munasar is the future, she needs to play more matches, because we know what this current lot can do and what their ceiling is. Let's try find the best of the next lot and start to give them more game time now. So there's also that to think about. I've written something down here, and I have no idea what this note. I can't even read my own notes. See what I mean? So you know what, people? Listen, it is. Let's wrap this episode up because I don't know what my notes are saying. Let's wrap this episode up, people. I've got no answers, really and truly. I'm here to just kind of almost ask the key questions. I'm here to say this is what I saw, this is what I feel, and this is what I think. But what's the answers, people? You tell me. Get in the comments below. Yes, we're disappointed. West Indies women aren't there. But what's the point in cussing? There's no point really in cussing. What we need to do now is identify what's the way forward. Because if we don't, and this is why I think this is why I think not getting there is super instructive and is almost like a weird blessing in disguise, because it forces us to now have to think long term. We can't just keep going for short term fixes. Yes, okay, if Deandra had been there, we would have qualified, but Deandra's what, 33, 34. What happens when Deandra's not there? So we need to start thinking long term. Let this be the watershed moment where we started to say to ourselves, okay, listen, women's cricket is a serious thing. Are we taking it as serious as we should be? And if we aren't, what's the plan? And who are the players that we're identifying to really take this thing to the next level? Listen, I've been Machel St. Patrick here at One Half the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I don't pretend to have all the answers. I just know I've got the right conversations. Get in the comments below. Let me know what you think. And before you go, because I didn't even say, we're very close to 12,000 subscribers. I think we're certainly less than 40 away. So if you're watching this and you've never subscribed before, like the video, share the video, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, and comment. All of that stuff helps the algorithms. All of that stuff helps the channel grow. You can find us on all social media handles. Just search Caribbean Cricket Podcast and we'll be there somewhere. And we'll be back later tonight with another episode. Santoki and I will be recording something tonight, so look out for that drop coming later tonight. And I'll see you all very, very soon.
West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.